In Matthew 4, we discover the temptation of Christ that fulfills verses 11 and 12 in Psalm 91. It's a possible location. We really don't know for sure. Follow me as when we get into what Psalm 91 has for us. Well, welcome to our Bible study. We're going to be in Psalm 91 today. And I'm going on vacation, so I wanted to get this study done to the Sunday school class and those online that are following me. This one we're looking at another mountain from the Psalms. And I have enjoyed looking at Psalm 91. It's the mountain of the dangers of life. The mountain of the dangers of life. And today we're going to cover I'm going to choose, I have on my board there, as you can see, I have both outlines from Thomas Constable and Warren Wiersbe. I'm going to follow Constable's outline to a large degree. The security that God provides in verses 1 and 2. We're going to look at that provision. We're going to look at how God delivers us and provides for us from danger. Dangers that are still very, very real. Some of it has new names, but the dangers are very real. And finally, the assurance that God provides in verses 14 through 16. He gives us an assurance that He's got our back through it all. Even if, now He doesn't say it here in Psalm 91, He says it other places. But even if we are taken by the dangers of life to the most extreme, we die, we may be seriously injured, we may have conditions because of a disease or something that stays with us for all of our life. But He's got us in His hand, and He's going to take us home to be with Him in heaven. All right? We have great assurance. Remember, healthy or not, we only have a span of life to live somewhere between 70, what would you say, 110? Not many people living that long. Not many people at all, but there are some people that do. Medicine seems to help a lot more people get to their 90s, and yet there are some people in their 90s, some, who are healthy. Most are struggling. And then you have people who are in their 80s. Many of them are healthy, but most of them are dealing with some type of disease. And then you got people who are in their 70s. Again, many of them are healthy, but there are those who are dealing with disease. And of course, there's people that didn't quite make it to 70. You know, they had some kind of disease that killed them or some other thing. But if you trust the Lord, make Him your hiding place. Let me take that from Wiersbe. He becomes our hidden life where we trust Him and we abide with Him. We dwell with Him. We live with Him in this life. There's going to be protection from the dangers of this mountain of life. Okay, dangers. So as we approach dangers, we're going to look at some real key ideas that will help us through the dangers. And I have those things on the right side of the picture that you're looking at. I initially approached this from the perspective of the young man that you see in the picture there. Just so you know, I used to have hair. Ooh. I used to be muscular and skinny. Oh yeah, my calves were always small because of my cerebral palsy, but I had strong thighs and I had strong shoulders, strong arms, and I was, you know, I was, I was interesting. uh, Whatever I thought of my looks, uh, I'll take them. I mean, looking at that young man, yeah, I'll take those looks over what I got. But I remember this guy very well. I actually remember that day. There's a lot of blood on that shirt and pants because I ran into a Herodian wall. And it was a great move. We were playing basketball, and I was making a down the lane on the outside of the lane, outside of the key, a couple feet, I was making my imitation move of Pete Maravich. Oh, it was a great move. But I gave no room for the wall. So, splat. Oh, I ended up with cuts on my head. I had to have stitches. I had, my knees were all banged up. Everything had a little bit of a bruise, and nothing like I would do today. I mean, right now I would be black and blue, but back then, I'm still a tiger, But I had my whole rest of that trip and study in Israel. I had to have a bandage on top of my head because I had stitches, and eventually they would get removed. Anyway, but that's me, the man of action. And I'm in a very wonderful place. I'm actually at one of the highest places in the old city. And out that window, you could look and see Jerusalem in the old city. And at nighttime, the wind really blows. I opened the window and the window flew open and the glass broke, But anyway, my wife and I were there and we were studying, and it was a wonderful place to be. So, yeah, I love it. But anyway, all my life I have had bumps in the night or falls. And I used to fall very good. Now I'm in a no fall zone. I can't fall anymore. My whole goal now is not to fall. All right. I go months without falling, which is like a universal record for me, but I am getting better at it. Okay. I am getting better. All right. So we see here, I got caught up with Warren Wiersbe when he wrote in a book called Bumps in the Night. He was talking about the Lord helping us so that our feet wouldn't catch on a stone on the trail that might trip us. All right. And he was using Psalm 91 to show that particular emphasis. So I went and I said, hey, that would be a great psalm to do an analysis of. And I did. And but that's where I started. Okay. That picture shows you where I started. But I really learned a lot more as I went through it. Okay, now, as we follow the outline then, we're looking at the mountain. And you can see the problems of the mountains here. First, the mountains that come from the Bible itself. When you're looking at the mountain. Here, when you look at Psalm 91, and I would encourage you to maybe pause right now and read it yourself in the translation that you like reading it. And you're going to discover what I did. And you check it to see if I'm right. But I discovered that all of the evil here that they're talking about is done by people And it may be orchestrated by Satan. Okay? There's a lot of symbolism in this psalm that refers to Satan. But the evil that is being done, that comes from people. Now, we often blame God for the evil that people do. We often do. Okay? So, as we look at this mountain of danger, let's be mindful of what it's saying, because it's saying people are doing these evils. And that's confirmed in our reading of the newspaper every day. And you can pause here and look at my cloud and read it, and it'll give you some good background into the problem, one of the problems that we're talking about in this psalm. You know, we often blame God for what people do. And we have to realize that God gave us a free will, a choice. And with those choices, there are consequences, either for good or for bad. Satan is the ruler of the cosmos. He's the prince of the air. God has him down. Okay? God has him down. And he is here among the birds. That's the place in the air where he's at. He's not in the universe. He is not in heaven. He's been cast out of heaven. He's been cast down from the stars. He's been put into the air, the atmosphere of the earth. I've looked at the atmosphere of the earth, and it's beautiful to look at, isn't it? Have you ever seen Earth from space? And you see that thin blue layer around the earth? Don't you just love that thin blue layer around the earth? Oh, I love it. That layer is where we live. That layer is where we breathe. Okay, now I hurt my ribs, but I got to do this. Got to do it. I'm going to take a deep breath. Oh, I love the atmosphere. Okay, I love that deep breath. It's hurting less. Hurting less. I love the deep breath. It's so good for me not to get pneumonia. It's worth taking another deep breath. All right. Okay, enough of that silliness. But the point is, that's where Satan's ruling. He's ruling on the earth. And he loves the capitals of the world. He loves the money centers of the world. From New York to Hong Kong and Chicago to the capitals of Washington, Moscow, London, Paris, Beijing, and a number of other, all of the capitals in the world, okay? That's where he loves to be, okay? He likes staying at the Ritz, okay? He sends his guys, he directs his legions to the boonies, to you and me, but he is interested personally in the capitals of the world. And he rules by force, power, greed, desires of the flesh, desires of the eyes, and coveting. And he energizes evil by those principles. And you can see how force and power and greed has been used over and over and over in human government, in human management, economically, in human experience. You know, having power, number one, you know. And he wants to destroy. He wants to be like a lion who destroys. He wants to be like a serpent who lies. He's so named that. He's a murderer and a liar from the beginning. John 8:44. Make sure you look that up. John 8:44. Okay. History and the newspapers are full of the world system. We see the conflict every day. There's a lot of conflicts going on in today's world. I follow Africa, particularly Liberia, and there's a lot of violence that's occurring in Africa that people aren't aware of. I follow the dangers in our locals, in our big cities, because I see the violence out of control, people hurting people. And it's spreading. It's almost become war zones. In fact, it is. There's more deaths that occur in Chicago than occur in Israel. And Israel's always in a state of war. Well, Chicago is too. You know, evil is there. It's not just there. It's, you know, it's everywhere. These dangers that I talk about in the mountain, each of us face it. We got to be real smart about it. Okay. Now, let's go into our verse. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, He is my refuge, my fortress, my God. In Him I will trust. Here we have 4 big names for God. And they describe God for us and give us some type of idea of who God is. He's the Most High. He's that majestic mountain. I think of the Alps. I think of the Rocky Mountains. I think of the Himalayas. I think of Mount Kilimanjaro. In the Middle East, I think of Mount Hermon. Majestic mountains, large, with many multiple color and fascinations about them. Can't ignore them. They're big. Okay. That's who God is. He's like a mountain. He's the Almighty, El Shaddai. He's so strong that if we need a place to go, we find a place of refuge that we can't deal with, but that He can. And we go under His wings in this song. Okay. He is my refuge and my fortress. I will say of the Lord, Yahweh, the self-existing one, the eternal God. I put my trust. I may not be eternal in the sense that I was created in eternity past. I had a beginning. But I have a future in heaven. Okay, I have a future in heaven. Okay, I have eternal life. He's my God, whom I'm going to trust in the valley of the shadow of evil, for I fear no evil, for the Lord is with me. So you get this here. And that's the one thing that the Psalm wants us to do to overcome the dangers of life is to live under God, in his shadow, in his hidden place, and trust the Lord. Verse 3, deliver, cover his truth and shield. Very key ideas here. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler, the prince of the air, who captures, and you think of how a bird is captured, ensnared, okay? And from perilous pestilence. It is very interesting that with war, there is always a breakdown in the health system where the war has taken place. To the soldier, more soldiers will die at the hands of the doctor than will die at the hands of the enemy. Now, medical procedure in our military has greatly improved the care that our soldiers get after combat. I mean, when you think about what they went through in the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, what the doctors do in the military today is absolutely fascinating. And what they do has often led to how we deal with trauma that we have with accidents with cars, with shootings, and other type of things. We've learned to be better. Sometimes it was just a simple washing of the physician's hands. That really was a breakthrough. But there are others. We know what penicillin did. There were others. But anyway, pestilence follows war. Oh, we have fears today. Terrorist attacks, snipers, reckless drivers, exotic new diseases. I hate exotic new diseases. Flashed on my computer a minute ago was the COVID cases are rising in Illinois. Okay. Are we looking at these cases? How many were not immune from or not treated with the vaccine? How many came down with COVID again that had the vaccine? What will be the outcome? Will it be less because we had the vaccine? Not having the vaccine, are we more likely to come down with the COVID? Those are expected answers because that's what we're seeing so far. But as you look at these numbers, those will be questions that you have. But here we have, we got this disease that literally it could have been manipulated by man. Man didn't create the virus, but he could have manipulated it to where it escaped. And now it's causing havoc all over the world. We know that these viruses mutate all the time. And, we're facing these dangers. So we have to, in the real world, we have to get better at treating these diseases. And we have to find vaccines that will help us. We're doing that, right? We're doing that. A lot of people have been saved, but a lot of people are sick. So we're having personal experience with a thing called pestilence. But pestilence usually comes as a result of human action that has destroyed the health system. Okay? Think about that and keep that in mind. Now, he shall cover you with feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. Wow, that's talked about many places in the Bible, where God takes us under his wings, and we have protection to grow and to become stronger. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. The shield is for the whole body. A buckler is two possibilities. It's either a smaller shield that a person can use that both has freedom to be more offensive, or it's a completely different idea of ramparts being built of dirt that are able to protect people from attack. We found castles didn't work. We actually had to build big old dirt mounds. You can see those in southern Illinois down by Cairo. They built those things getting ready for a battle down there that never happened. But you can go down and see it today. You can walk in it. And there's other places from the Civil War that you can look at. And if you get a chance to go to France, you will see the trenches that were built in World War I. We still have evidence of that. So, you shall not be afraid of the terror of night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at the noonday. See, these attacks come at any time. They come from our more scarier times that we think about. You know? Think about being in the hospital at the nighttime. The germs are moving. I'm sorry, I don't want to scare you. But we can be attacked, from things we don't see. These are real dangers. They still exist. Okay? 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near to you. So this is a very personalized promise that's been given to an individual. Other people have fallen, but they have been protected. Now, there have been people in wars that have claimed this and lived. I am sure that there are people who claim this in war and they didn't live. Remember, we're going to get to how God has our back, even in the worst situation. Photo by Pharaoh, and this could be the location again, but we're talking about when the devil tempted Jesus and to throw him off the pinnacle to be protected by angels.